Hello, 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 everybody. How are you doing? Welcome to the Grand Scale Motivation Show. If you're just joining us, this is a great time to get a cup of coffee and get to watch this show with us. Uh, we've got a very dynamic young professional entrepreneur today, an author, an entrepreneur, an accountant, an active citizen. Who is doing amazing things. And I just thought I would invite him to this show because I can tell there's a lot that he's doing in the market. Ladies and gentlemen, help me to welcome Mr. Mubu Delorne Mubu. Mubu, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you so much, my leader, for that kind introduction. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. I mean, you've been, there's a lot of vibe I get from you. I know that you're an author. You've just released your book, I think it was 3 months ago, called People to People. I was part of that launch. I attended the launch and I bought the book. And when I read that book, I just felt like we definitely need to connect because your language, your maturity, your intelligence, business acumen was coming out very strongly to me. And I started following what you do on social media. And I realized, no, you are a very serious businessman going and doing the things that you love the most. And that is inspiring. So I want our guests, I want our viewers tonight to get a feel of who you are. So let's kickstart by talking about who Delorne Mubu is. Who is Delorne? May introduce yourself. Where did you grow up? And how did you get to be the author, entrepreneur, accountant, and active citizen that you are? There you go.
Okay, thank you so much once again. My name is Mubu Delorne Mubu. You spell it as M-U-B-U. So that's my surname. But again, it's also my first name. So I am Mubu. But then my parents then also gave me a middle name, which is Delorne. But I like calling myself the game changer. That is mainly because of my belief in continuous improvement, world-class and extraordinary performance. So you can call me the game changer. A name not just reserved for myself, but which I think anyone else can also adopt if you've got that game-changing kind of mentality. Just like we've got other people, a lot of Kudakwashes in Zimbabwe, a lot of Jones and other names. So the game changer again is free for everyone to take. Then a little bit of my history. The journey began 24 years ago when I was born in Mangura, small mining town in Zimbabwe. And my family then relocated to Harare. Then, so, in short, I'm 24 years old now. I've got 7 siblings. We are 8 in our family, and I'm the firstborn. So already you can understand where the pressure and the source of the motivation comes from, because I do not want to set the pace for my siblings, but I want them to believe in possibilities and that they can achieve whatever that they set their minds to also achieve within what they love doing themselves. Then, in terms of what exactly I do, like you have indicated, I get my hands on a lot of things. Why? Because I believe a human is not limited. You can do almost everything that you want, only if you remove fear, which is what limits us to do a lot of things. So I'm an accountant by profession. Also an entrepreneur by choice. Then I'm very passionate about issues to do with personal development, which is what then led me to write the book, People to People. Why? Because I also had a certain message which I wanted to convey to people out there with regards to what I've learned within my personal development related journey. then I think for now we can end there.
Okay. Let's get deeper into your journey of growing up, where that started and how you were brought up and where you were brought up and how maybe that upbringing fed into who you have become now.
Okay, cool. So I was born of, my father is an economist by profession.
Yeah.
Then besides that, he also goes on to lecture economics at tertiary and high school level. So because of that now, I fell in love with the subject itself. And it's sort of like, it's one of my strongest pillar with regards to the academic side, because I've got my father is in academia, who then provides all the support or the motivation and show me that, you know, it can be done. So with that now, that's the academic side of things where I got it myself. Though I didn't go on to become an economist, I went on to become an accountant because that was my dream. But on the other hand, now I've got my mother who is very passionate about issues to do with business and entrepreneurship. She goes on to run a lot of small projects, but very successful, which makes a lot of contribution to the family. So from that now, I also learned that, you know, if you've got a business idea or an entrepreneurship idea that you want and you really want to pursue it, it can be done. Because I've seen him start something from scratch, from zero, and it goes on to actually prosper. And it's almost the same with a whole lot of other things that that she does. So that's where I get the business side of things. So because of the two now, it's not like I really got to choose what exactly I want to focus on. So at the end of the day, very passionate about, you know, the academic side, being an accountant, professionally, but also pursue business and provide solutions to a couple of problems that will be facing. And then I think one interesting thing again about my father is I got an opportunity to also join his classes when he's teaching a lot of students preparing for their examinations with UNISA and a whole lot of other professional boards and universities. I liked how he explains seemingly complex topics and
Yes.
issues
And
and
breaks them
make
down.
people understand. And because of that now, I then got to go to a stage where even within my professional journey, I like talking, I like explaining things to people if I understand them. And then I had, you know, some students coming through and saying, you know what, we know you're good at accounting. Can you assist us in preparing for examinations? And it started small soon after finishing my high school. And I would get a few students that I would, you know, assist in my spare time. It came up to be a class. Then now again, it's something that I do on the side. So my parents, I take a lot from both in terms of my parents. Then from my siblings, I've got 7 amazing siblings, very energetic, and they've got a lot of energy. And like I said, you know, whenever I look at them, I also want them to be successful within their own right. And I don't want anyone to stand up and wait before them and tell them that they can't be who they want to be or they can't follow whatever dream that they've got. So I then strongly show them that whatever that you want to achieve in life, be it a doctor, a lawyer, a swimmer, a footballer, that's what you want to do. No one can tell you that you can't. Just to go for it. It's all possible. So I think that strong family background plays a very pivotal role for me in terms of a whole lot of things that I do.
Okay. Fantastic. So, Dylan, you are now an author and you're 24 years old. There are many people out there who've been thinking to themselves, I want to write a book, but part of why they are waiting is because either they think they're too young or they think they have to attain a certain level of maturity before they get to write a book or get to some step in what they do. How did you manage to break that perception, that feeling of too young, too old to get to do what I want to do? Because you've done a lot of things already.
Okay, cool. You know what? I think it's all about associations. That's what I believe, which is something that I really talk about mostly in the book, People to People. Yes. So I've been around game changers, people who are doing amazing things within their own right, to an extent where if you want to do something yourself, you've got no limitations whatsoever. And you've got a strong support system. People are ready to support you in whatever that you also want to do. And then, like I said, I believe everything in life, it's a game of it's a mind game. When you tell yourself that you can't do something, definitely you won't be able to achieve it. But if you say, you know what, this is what I want to do, I'm not going to look at my background, I'm not going to look at my age, I'm not going to look at my color, the color of my skin, or anything else, my financial status and everything. But this is what I want to do. You'll be able to achieve it. So for me, that has been the case. But I would say it's mainly being through a lot of people that have been successful within their own rights, doing a lot of things. And because of that, now you can be, you know what, if I want to write a book, I can also do it. Then the other stage to it all is, I believe that besides just general associations, everyone needs mentors, everyone needs life coaches, everyone needs a role model. So for example, if you want to be a good racer, you also need to get Lewis Hamilton's phone number. If you can't, you need to watch his races, you need to watch his interviews, you will learn how to do it better. So that's the whole idea. So for me, when I wanted to write the book, it took me about 2 years. But then the first year, the first 12 months, I did absolutely nothing. I was just researching on how other people did it. And I couldn't really get to a stage where I would finish it. But then in the other 12 months now, I had a mentor, Trinos Longo, the current division director for Toastmasters in Zimbabwe. He has written 2 books to date. He took me through each and every stage needed in order for someone to write a book up until the book was launched. And on the launch date, if you remember, he was the MC. Talking about getting the book on Amazon and doing the audio book, I remember approaching yourself because you have written a book, and through doing the same, now I've got my book available online on Amazon, because I am not afraid to ask questions, to do the research, and to put in the work. So don't get it twisted. Age is just a number. Whether you're too young or whether you feel that you're too old, just go and put in the work.
Fantastic. I'm enjoying this already. Welcome, Jimmy. I see your comment on the chat here, and I see also David Tawanda Toendepi. Thank you guys for joining the show. It's a wonderful one. So you hear what the game changer is saying. Don't get it twisted. Age is just a number. And most definitely, you're saying that the people you surround yourself with, the people that you are with, are determined whether you will go for certain things or not. Because I mean, people can tell you where they can limit you, they can limit what you want to do, they can limit where you want to go. But you've just told yourself, because you are consciously surrounding yourself with people that are game changers, you have no choice but to become a game changer. Now, let's get to your book, People to People. Right. I want to find out from you, at what point did you decide that it was going to be a great idea for you to write this book? And why did you write this book, People to People?
Okay, thank you so much. So this was in January 2018, almost the time when I was celebrating my 22nd birthday. And I had added on Robin Sharma to be part of my virtual mentors.
All
I
right.
never had an opportunity to have a conversation with him or attend any of his events. For those that do not know, Robin Sharma is an author of books like the Leader Who Had No Title or The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. And he's also a speaker on transformation and a whole lot of other personal development related issues. So besides that now, I was also looking at the journey that I had walked and the little things that I had achieved. And for each and every one of those, I could pin someone, an individual or groups of people to say that if it wasn't for this person, I wouldn't have achieved this. If it wasn't for this person, I wouldn't have achieved this. So I then got to realize that for each and everything that you manage to achieve in life, sometimes it's not solely on how intelligent you are, how rich you are, or what you have. Sometimes it's all because of the people that will be supporting you in order to get there. So I'm that kind of a person who doesn't believe in this self-made millionaire kind of a thing. Because I believe for you to then become a millionaire, you've got workers that you're working with, how you are treating them, what their contribution also matter for you to get there despite contributing financially to whatever that you're doing. So even if you're using your own money for your own business, you've got the suppliers, you've got these customers. How do you then become a self-made millionaire? Does it make sense for me? Then besides that, I believe again for people to then support you, it's you know, nobody owes you a favor. People have got a choice whether to support or not. But for you to then get a lot of people supporting you, there are other things that matter. For example, your drive, your attitude, your character. What kind of a person really are you? Then how you handle conflicts, and a whole lot of other things that come with that. But I was in a space where my personal development had started in way back when I was in high school, soon after joining the Harare City Junior Council as a junior councillor. So I've had an opportunity to be in a lot of trainings since a very young age. But I was seeing now my colleagues, how they treat people. Someone after just getting a diploma or a degree or 15 A's, they think they're on top of their game. You can even tell from how they interact with someone, how they talk to people. It's embarrassing. Someone because they come from a rich family, how they treat people, it's embarrassing. And a whole lot of those kind of things. So I then thought to myself and said, why not write a book and put in a message so that people can be conscious of the fact that how you interact with people matters, and the fact that people around you matter because they play a part in order for you to get somewhere in your life. So now that's the whole message that I wanted to put into the book. Then through my mentor, I then got to be taught how to put it all into one book. And then for certain chapters, which I thought these were very important, and because of my experience, I had not yet experienced those things, I had an opportunity to interview certain people. For example, there's a topic on balancing humility and confidence. I'm still working so hard in order to be humble, be confident, but in order to strike a balance between the two. Because I believe if you're too humble, certain opportunities will miss you because people will think you're too weak and you're not able to go for them as a leader or something of that sort. But again, if you're too confident, you can become arrogant, and no one really wants to associate with someone who's arrogant. So you need to strike a balance between the two. So I've got two people within my journey that I thought they do so well with regards to striking a balance between humility and confidence. One of them being from Toastmasters and another one from my church. And I had to interview those people, and they made significant contributions to that chapter in the book. So again, hearing all this, it's going on to I'm mentioning a lot of names in terms of people. And in that book, you've had an opportunity to read it. All I share is my life experiences. It's not a textbook. It's backed up with the real life experiences that I've came up with within the last 24 years. So to just sum up your question, I had a message that I wanted to relay to other young people, young professionals, and people of various ages, just for them to be conscious of the importance of other people within their lives. So people, hence people to people.
Fantastic. I love that. If you've just joined this show, we are talking to the game changer himself, Delorne Mubu.
Right, it looks like we have lost Say Ono, but he'll be joining us shortly. Maybe I'll just continue, sharing the journey or why I had to write the book, People to People. So, like I indicated in my earlier contribution, I believe that for one to achieve their own personal goals, dreams, and ambitions, you can only do it if you've got a strong support system of people around you that will be assisting you in order to achieve those. So again, I believe that no man is an island. We live in a world full of other people. So how we treat other people is very important. It's an art, actually. And if you master that, it makes you better positioned in order to achieve your personal goals, dreams, and ambitions. Then some of the relationships that I then stress most importantly on is the fact that we all need mentors, we all need life coaches, and we all need role models. So I'll touch on each and every one of those categories, starting firstly with mentors. So usually with mentors now, these people would have walked the journey before, and whether, if you're passionate about business and you really want to get into business, if you want to shorten your journey up until you become a successful businessman, you need to look for a successful businessman. If you want to become a millionaire, you also need to look for a millionaire mentor. Why? They are going to share with you what they did right and what they did wrong. What they did right, you just implement the same and it will shorten your journey. So it doesn't mean that it has to be exactly the same business, but business concepts are almost the same. From their mistakes or things that they did wrongly, you'll be able to avoid those and make your own new mistakes. It's not like you're not going to make those. Then moving on to life coaches. With life coaches now, these are people who are professionally trained in order to assist you with regards to achieving a certain goal. So for example, if you want to become a better public speaker, you can get a public speaking coach. So with a public speaking coach now, they'll do whatever it takes in order to make sure that you become a better public speaker. Then lastly, with role models. So these role models are people already living the kind of life that you want to live. If it's, for example, in music, these are already musicians and they've been successful as ones, but you might not be able to sit them down and ask them how exactly they managed to do all that. But by following their journey, these days it's even easier because we've got social media. Following their social media pages, getting to research about their stories, you are able to get inspired. And already, if you are here and you're looking at them whilst they are there, you'll be like, oh, okay, so I've got something to look forward to achieving. So it will put in the fire in the belly and give you all the energy that you need in order to work towards achieving something. So again, I think those are some of the brief introductions or explanation in terms of why I had to come up with a book, People to People. Let me check on Say Uno if he is now ready to join us. Okay, so you'll be with us shortly. I'll move on to one of maybe the key questions that I always receive from people with regards to the book, People to People. So one of the questions is, how exactly does positive and healthy relationships look like? So I'll firstly touch on the positive side of things. So for one to be called a positive relationship, firstly, it has to be one which is, I would say, you when you're in that relationship, you're always getting positive energy from the other person and passing it back on. Where if you are working towards achieving something, when you talk to that person or that group of people, what you get is not discouragement, demotivation, but you get fueled up. People who hold you accountable for not achieving something. That's a positive relationship for me. It's one way, if you are in it, you do not lose energy. There are people who are termed energy stealers, who just by seeing the phone ringing and you see the name of the person, you feel weak before you talk to the person because you've got an idea of what they are going to be talking about. If you see a message before you open it, you already know that they are going to be complaining, something of that sort. So I'm not saying that people shouldn't complain or people do not have, you know, there are moments where things are not going right and they need help. But there are certain people who consistently, they are always complaining about this or the other. They are always demotivating. They're always discouraging. So at the end of the day, the relationship is a negative one. It's not positive. So instead of getting something out of it, you might not be able to, take anything out of it. Then a healthy one now, when you talk about a healthy relationship, for me, how I look at it is it's one way, it's not a one way street, you are always feeding into each other. So I know certain people who abuse people that they call mentors or people around them. That I've talked about associations. So when I talk about associations, if you see me with a celebrity or a rich person or someone who's achieved something, it's not like I'm asking those people for money. I don't do that. What I ask for is advice. What I ask for is knowledge. What I ask for is how they got there. And from that now, I then go back and put in the work in order to also shape my own life journey. So you can't get to a stage where you're now asking for this or asking for that from people around you without giving something in return. So you also need to make sure that I like the JCI networking course, which says relationships are like a bank account, and you need to keep that emotional bank account with a positive balance. So instead of doing a lot of receiving, you also need to do a lot of giving, so that at least the bank balance is a positive one. You would see that if you do that, you get a lot of respect from people around you, and it's easier now to really get people support, because whenever they are in need of help or when they're in need of something, you are always there in order to support them. So that's what a healthy relationship for me is. So you'd find people always like asking this when they are asked to help in one thing or the other. They'll ask, "What's in it for me? What am I getting? How much are you ready to pay for that?" That's where a lot of people lose it. Assist a lot of people for free and see how that does to you in terms of how you feel after doing it. And then do it for about 5 to 10 years and see who you will become. So for me, I always say it's not really about what you get now, but it's really about who you become at the end of the day. Because someone will pay you today and then you lose that person. But then if you're always consistently doing this and that for a lot of people, they're always to keep you in mind. And whenever you really need that help, they'll be there to support you. So healthy relationships, they are two-way. You're not always getting. They're always there to offer something in return, so that people really get some form of value from yourself, and you also get value from them. And in that way, you've got a long-term kind of relationship. So a lot of people are again watching from the terraces, like, in my vernacular, they'd say, like people are using you, but it's not always the case.
Such words of wisdom from the game changer. And I feel like this network challenge that we just had was a blessing in disguise, because I was listening to what you were saying as I was trying to reconnect at the same time. It was just beautiful. And the lessons that you are teaching are definitely lessons that we all need in our networks, in business, at work, in our schools, and wherever we are. This is really a game-changing show and a game-changing professional who has joined us today, telling us about how to network. And I love what you said about this two-way street. In your book, do you mention anything, or is there some advice that you give about toxic relationships? When relationships have gone bad, how do you notice that this is now toxic, and how do you deal with it? Do you get out, or do you try and mend it? What do you say about that?
Okay, thank you. Definitely, there are always those toxic relationships. You can't run away from that. You always find them. You always come across them. But what I would always say is, when you get into one, how exactly do you identify that it's a toxic relationship? It's you need to have your goals straight. You need to have your objectives straight. Know exactly what you want to achieve in life, in the short term, in the medium term, and in the long term. If you are clear in terms of that now, you're likely to also make sure that as you interact with people, it would be nice to interact with people that you almost have the same kind of goals with, right? So if you're in a certain relationship, and then you then get to understand that maybe our values are not the same, our characters are not the same, the kind of goals that you're working towards achieving are not the same. The person that you're also interacting with has got that discouraging, demotivating kind of character. You know, with all that whole list, you see that definitely what it means is you're going nowhere as a person, because you've got these goals that you're working towards achieving. So if the person doesn't have the same goals, you're not able to work together and go somewhere together. So it's at the end of the day, we can categorize it as a toxic one. Now, what exactly do you need to do about it? You can't go around giving people some negative kind of feedback, and you can't go around acting as if you are on top of your game on everything, because maybe that person, you might not be on the same page today, but that person will work on it, and at a certain time you might then get to be in sync again in terms of working towards achieving something. So what I would say is, for me, it's a matter of just moving on, almost silently. I'm one who doesn't like, I don't like arguments, and I don't really like this idea of being, creating a lot of grudges with people and things of that sort. So I like moving on silently with my life, just minding my own business, and then work towards achieving something. So that's what I would say. I discourage the last chapter in the book. It talks about forgiveness in the book People to People. So you'd find a lot of people are going to, I've been talking about a healthy relationship earlier on, but definitely you're going to come across people who genuinely want to use you, left, right, and center, for nothing, and all that. But you'll get to a stage where you just see it. And when it happens now, what do you do? Forgive people. Just move on. We are, again, ourselves not right. We are also going to maybe wrong certain people and would want that kind of forgiveness. It's not easy, but take it one day at a time. You get there. So I think that's one of the ways to go about it. But know your goals.
Wow.
I think that's the key thing.
Wow. Know your goals, know your values, assess whether your values align. And if you then find out that this is getting into kind of negative vibe kind of account, you withdraw slowly and subtly, and you don't have to get into arguments with people. And so I love that advice that you've just given. And I love part of what you say in the book, that you shouldn't judge people just because they have wronged you today, because you don't know who you are also, affecting in your own negative vibe. So you want to give them a second chance, but you don't want to be in their face all the time. So you kind of leave in a subtle way, but at the same time, you grow other associations. And I loved that about your book.
Maybe before you go into the next question, just hold on that. I'm going to share with you a certain, a simple life example. I've got certain people who, when I told them that I wanted to write a book and I needed their assistance, they told me, no, you can't write a book at that age. You're not going to do it. For you to write a book, you need this, until you've achieved that, then you can write a book. Besides that, I've got certain people who, when I was marketing the book, they tell you that, no, you know what, hold on with these messages of your book. We've heard it and we're tired about it. Please stop. And then I'm like, no, I'm very sorry, I would apologize and move on. 2 months down the line, maybe because the person is following certain feedback, now that I'm not sending it to them directly, they are now chasing for it somewhere else. Like, no, can you come and deliver a copy there? How can I get a book? No, I like this message that you wrote on this book about this and that. So, it's not one person, it's a lot of people. It's a lot of people. So if I had gotten into arguments and tried to prove my points to those people at an early stage, you can imagine how many enemies I'll be having and where I would be now. So these are people who have sort of like been baptized somehow, and they have changed in terms of perceptions, and they become some of your biggest supporters, your strongest pillars now. And those people, how they will then support you, it will be amazing and priceless. So it's very important for you to understand people at a certain stage and just move on. People are people.
The game changer. I don't want to even kid you in what you are saying. What you are saying, I can't believe is coming. You have such a level of maturity that's so admirable. The advice you are giving on relationships, they are 50-year-olds who are struggling with dealing with the issues that you have just said. They're entrepreneurs who are struggling with discouragements of other people that are telling them that their products are not good enough, even if they haven't tasted their cakes or they haven't done anything, and they get discouraged or they get into arguments instead of just moving away, sending the message to other people until other people catch the fire. I just want to welcome Israel, Chikwanda, Ngombeu, Mimbe, Monica, D, Sarah, my sister. Welcome. Fungai Shedraguse, you're following this thing now, huh? It's really good. Yes, Baba Gute saying people are people for sure, and the game changer obviously got that. People are people. Forgive people, move out and move in. You that's building social capital. There is one thing, and I think I've seen is as part of your traits. It's very and when I read it in your book, I got excited, and I want you to talk a little bit about it more. You say, be humble on the outside and confident on the inside. Can you share a little bit more about that? Because you in that book, you then talk about the fine line between humility and or between confidence and arrogance. Can you shed a bit more light about that? Because I know that will definitely help a lot of people.
Okay, cool. Be humble in the inside, then confident on the outside. So the whole yes. Okay, yeah, all right. The whole idea around it is, firstly, I would say, in terms of my character, I always share this with people. I'm fearless. I'm not afraid of anything myself, but I'm very respectful. I respect people, different ages, and everyone. Very respectful, but I'm not afraid of anyone. So what that does now is it puts you into a space where you're not afraid of approaching people for anything. And then when they tell you something, you sort of like put emotions aside in terms of what exactly they're telling you. So you're able to judge and say whatever that's coming out of someone is there speaking, because you're not afraid, but you're very respectful. So this is with that kind of mentality now, I think for those that follow, I'm able to interact with people of different levels, people in different levels of positions, whether in politics and business, etc., up to the students in schools younger than me, because I'm not afraid of anyone, but very respectful. Then going on to the issue of the humble and confidence that I've talked about, I believe that in order for you to achieve your dreams and for you to achieve your goals, it's difficult for you to achieve them if you're not confident about them. if you're not confident about yourself. And you need the self-drive and the hunger that comes from within yourself. So because of that now, you do not rely on other people in order to really tell you whether something is going to be successful at the early ages, because you've got the confidence like really coming in from the inside. So even when you make mistakes, you make them confidently. And then when you make one, you learn out of it, you smile, you laugh about it yourself before people laugh at you, and then you move on. So when people laugh at you, you'd have already laughed at yourself, and you're actually moving on. You'd have realized that you've made a mistake. Then now, being humble. Being humble is something that I would advise everyone in order to work towards achieving. Because humility, everyone wants someone who is humble. And humility is that kind of a trait which works like a magnet. I don't know how to explain it better, but people like people who are humble. So, but if you become too humble now, it has got, I've done observations of certain people who are too humble. People get to abuse you in a certain way. Certain opportunities will miss you because people were like, should we consider? We don't think you'll be able to succeed in it, because how will he deal with the people, and will he, when he faces problems, will he be able to move forward with regards to this and that? So this is being too humble, not humble, too humble, right? So it has got its own problems that come with that. Then the confident side of things, if you are very confident and too confident, you become arrogant, and you won't even listen to the next person who's talking. You will think that you've got the monopoly of knowledge, you know everything, which then becomes a problem. So you need to find somewhere like a sweet spot, somewhere in between, so that you'll be able to relate with people, but work tirelessly in order to achieve your own goals. At the same time, you have that kind of an aura where, if you'd agree with me, there are certain people who, if they walk into the room, just because of their confidence, how they're carrying themselves and how they talk, you are forced to listen to what they're going to be talking about, even if they're going to talk nothing important. So that's very important. So that's striking a balance. So how do you really do that? It's mainly through respecting people, understanding that you don't have monopoly of knowledge. Other people know something that you do not know, and whatever that you know, it might have changed now since the time that you acquired that knowledge. So always treat everyone with respect and make sure that you give some people a chance to contribute in order to say this and that, and move on. So it's more of people skills, but it's yeah.
It's a great concept that you explain there. And indeed, in the workspace, if people just think this person, if the only description that's given to you is that of humility, it can become a negative vibe, because then they look at it and they think this person, through their respect, they don't voice out their opinion, they don't say what they are thinking, and therefore
Exactly.
opportunities pass you because you are not showing that confidence that you should show. And
Exactly.
if your views alone are the ones that matter, then you become arrogant as well. But you want to show up. And this is what I loved about the statement that says, be confident on the inside. And when you're confident on the inside, nothing that comes from the outside will affect that. Whatever they say will just come to you, and you're moving on, and you continue to do what you usually do. So your confidence is not affected by comments from your boss or fellow colleagues, because what do they know about you? You have known yourself for your whole lifetime. That's beautiful information. Now, the game changer. You talk about social capital. Talk to me about the concept of social capital, how it works in business, how it works in the workspace, and how we can build our social capital so that it works for us.
Okay, thank you so much. Before you asked that question, I was just trying to look at a certain example that I would share, which
Yes.
sort of like puts everything into perspective for what we were discussing about earlier. Think of
Mm.
your Barack Obama.
Right.
Is he not humble? You would put a tick there. Is he not confident? You would put a tick there. So he's somewhere in between. So
Mm-hmm.
he's someone who you would never say is arrogant. He's someone who you would say is not, again, very humble. So as a leader, he has managed to be very successful within his role as the USA president for those 2 terms because of exactly that. So that's one of the best examples that I would give for that other
And the
concept that
most
was
recent
put.
example of arrogance is one we we have
Like,
currently witnessed now, and what it did
like,
to that
like, like,
particular
like,
lead.
like I say in the book, I was trying to avoid, giving examples for those two extremes because
Yeah,
people have got their own opinions in terms of those
yes,
two.
yes, and
I try
political
to avoid it.
affiliations and all of that
I try to
stuff.
avoid it, so I'll be playing with the middle one.
Yeah.
But
No,
like,
perfect. But this is exactly it. I think it's a perfect example of which extreme people go to and how that comes out in them. And then
exactly.
the social capital one.
Okay, so for social capital now, people give the actual capital in terms of finance as a reason for not being in business, a reason for not starting a business, a reason in terms of why they are not pursuing a certain degree, a reason in terms of why they haven't achieved this and that. But what I would say is, have you ever looked at something? There are certain people who come from rich families who've got the money. There are certain people who have got sources of finance, who got a lot of money and they're too liquid, but they go on to mess up in business and are very unsuccessful. We know those examples, we know those names. So is it really about money at the end of the day? That's my question. I believe it's not. I believe my talk always comes back to knowing exactly what you want to achieve in terms of your goals, your dreams, and ambitions, which I encourage everyone to have on paper, not in the head, because you miss them and you won't be able to keep track of them. So when you know them now, you put yourself into a space where you're always thinking of who exactly can assist me in order to achieve this and that. So because of that now, besides putting in the work, technically, that's important for you to achieve that. You also try and make sure that you are building blocks or relationships full of those people that can assist you in order to achieve that goal. So for example, you talked about the office set up, right? Or at work. So within your workspace now, you've got a job description in terms of what exactly you're supposed to be doing, and you've got certain targets that you're supposed to be achieving, or you name it. In order to achieve that now, this is where you also need to put yourself into a space where you've got a strong support system of people that have been able to achieve exactly that, or people who you really think can play a pivotal role in order for you to achieve all that now. So because of that now, you would find yourself being in a space where whenever you face a certain problem within that workspace, you're going to be that kind of a person who it doesn't take time for you to really come up with a solution in order to achieve that. And people will always be looking at you and like, she does so well, he does so well. How exactly does he do it? Because whenever he needs assistance, he knows who to call in order to get that kind of assistance. So it's
Ah,
exactly the same in terms of business. So for business, instead of worrying about capital, start with what you have. But as you start with what you have, who's going to buy whatever that you're making? Do you have the clients? So the clients are now part of your social capital, right? Do you have the suppliers? The suppliers are now part of your social capital. You understand? So for me, social capital, it's mainly about, it comes back to the issue about relationships. A strong support base full of people that are tied down to each and every one of the objectives that you're trying to also achieve. But for that to work now, do not abuse people in order to put them in a certain bracket where they also do not have interest. If it's in business, like I said, your social capital could also include the customers themselves or the suppliers themselves. So a customer definitely needs your product or your service because they want to use it, right? So by getting your service or your product, it's a win for them. So if you get into a space where you're negotiating that deal, there's value for them, there's value for you. The same thing applies with the supplier. Then on the other end now, in a work environment, you're also putting yourself in a space where, because of that department, or for example, I'm an accountant. So as an accountant, I need to have loads of numbers of other accountants within my phone book, where if I'm facing a certain tax-related issue, I know a tax expert
call
who
the
I can
other
call in
person.
order to assist me. Then besides that, that person can also do the same because they're an accountant. They'll be like, no, you know what, when we face this kind of issues, I call this person. So things are always easy. So you're not putting yourself in a corner where you think you know it all, and then when you face a problem, it's difficult for you to achieve it. So for me, that's social capital, building relationships for each and every goal that you want to achieve, but making them mutual.
Oh, that is rich right there. That is super rich. If you've watched this, I would encourage you to watch it again and think about it from a business and work perspective. What the game changer Mubu Delorne Mubu has done is to bring the people element, which really cuts across business, work, relationships, and everything, and has put together a a set of principles that you can work through. And if you're saying you don't have money, but can you say for your goal, can you list the number of people with whom you can have relationships with, who can help you, not to get the money, but to connect you to the things that will get you the money. And it might be just information. It might be just the next connection. It might be just so. The book has in it a set of principles that are explained in a very authentic way, and you get to know who this man is, the game changer, Mubu Delorne Mubu. Thank you very much, man, for coming to the show. Thank you very much for responding to our invitation. What, just as we are parting now and we are concluding, what sort of nuggets or ideas would you want to leave with people on the Grain Scale Motivation Show?
Thank you so much. What I'd say is, remember that no man is an island. You live in a world full of other people, so know the art of how to deal with other people. By that, I do not mean that abuse people around you, but be there in order to support others, in order for you to get their support. And then do not expect or have over expectations in terms of what people can do for you. No one owes you a favor. Be there in order to, when people say no to you today, it doesn't mean a no tomorrow. Don't get discouraged. Get a lot of motivation and inspiration or drive from within, not relying from outside. Forgive people when they wrong you and move on. Don't put it into the public. You don't get anything out of it on your status and stuff. Just move on. Go out there and get a mentor so that you'll be able to make your journey shorter in order to achieve your goals, dreams, and ambitions. Again, anything that you want to achieve in life, it's possible. If you remove fear out of the equation, the people who have built cars, your Henry Fords, They never had a car to look at and say, you know what, let me now do a car. It was a dream, but they went on to achieve it. Your aeroplanes, etc., the Wright brothers had it as a dream. So it's the same thing with you. You've got yours. People are going to call you all sorts of names, but come up with one that resonates with who exactly you want to be. Like, for example, I call myself the game changer. So I think with that now, go there and work so hard in order to achieve your goals. If you haven't grabbed a copy of People to People, go and grab one. It's there on Amazon. If you want a signed copy, get in touch with myself and my team on any one of my social media handles. Just search for Mubu Delorne Mubu on Google. You'll be able to get in touch with myself. Thank you so much, Sir Ono. It has been
Thank you very
a
much.
wonderful evening.
Fantastic. I've certainly enjoyed every bit of what we've discussed today. Thank you very much. So that was Mubu Delorne Mubu, the game changer. He is an amazing young professional entrepreneur, active citizen, accountant who is not afraid to take steps that are limiting. He's got many titles to his name, but he's comfortable in his skin. So thank you very much. Just want to give a shout out to you again, people who were on the show today and were giving comments. Israel, Ngobeu, Monica, Tatiwe, yes, Fungai, thank you, David, Tawanda, Twende, thank you so much for coming through. So please, let's continue coming in. The next Sunday, we're going to have another fantastic speaker coming through. We're starting an entrepreneurship series with some friends of mine that are all over the place and they're doing amazing things. And you know you're going to benefit if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a professional, and you want to develop yourself, you want to get that place where you have self-actualization. This is your show, The Grand Scale Motivation. And like you heard, Mubu Delorne Mubu, find him, get his book. This is all about it. We want to continue developing ourselves, getting success, and getting to the next level. Thank you very much. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night.